Welcome to Quadrant Information Security's video training series. Today we'd like to show you how Quadrant has implemented the Kibana software to perform searches to your log data stored in our implementation of Elasticsearch. Let's briefly start off with talking about what is Kibana. Kibana is an open source front-end application or tool that sits on top of the Elastic and is used to search any data that's been indexed by Elasticsearch. It's real simple to use. You can narrow down your searches from large data sets, and it can provide visualization to glean a better picture of that needle in the haystack. That might also bring up a question of what is Elasticsearch? Well, Elasticsearch is an open source search and analytic engine for all types of data. Generally, Elasticsearch is used to store very large data sets of information for query and analysis. Who uses Elasticsearch? Well, as you can see from the slide deck, a lot of large companies with household names in addition to Quadrant Information Security. So how does Quadrant use Kibana and Elasticsearch? Well, here's a quick overview of what happens. If you're one of our customers, we normally place a Sagan appliance in your network environment. Once it's installed, our team will help you begin the task of configuring your data devices to send logs to our appliance. Once we start receiving those logs, our appliance is configured to receive them and then do three things simultaneously. One, logs are stored in raw format on disk, and they are held there for 53 weeks. If your organization needs to have more than 53 weeks worth of logs on hand, we'll be more than happy to work with your team to archive anything over 53 weeks to any data repository that you might have. Our SOC analysts can search these raw logs very easily. So if you need something from historical data that you don't want to do searching for, our SOC is just a phone call or email away to garner the information you need from those logs. Simultaneously with raw logs being written to disk, logs are sent to our Sagan engine for real-time analysis. Sagan works based on a rule set that's both generically configured and customized for a client's specific needs. So if you would like for events to be triggered that are specific in nature to your organization, we can easily generate rules for you and provide that real-time analysis and give you a heads up when certain events happen. And in addition to that, our logs are also within the Sagan real-time analysis engine are compared to decades of data gathered by Quadrant for reputational analysis. Then simultaneously, the logs are inserted into Elasticsearch, which can be either running on the Sagan appliance itself or can be in a separate appliance depending on what your organization has requested. And the amount of logs that are there will be determined by hardware resources. Generally, there are more recent logs, and that's the purpose of this video, is to show you how to use Kibana to search those more recent logs. Okay, let's get started. This tutorial about how to use Kibana. You first want to start with your Quadrant console. You need to be logged into that. This is similar to how yours will look as well. This is our demo console, and it's got demo data in it. But the way to get to Kibana is to click on Search, and you'll have this drop-down menu. Click on Kibana. And it takes a minute or so for Kibana to load. It will come up with a default of a couple of things. A default of an index pattern that it automatically pulls up. It'll also come up with a default of activity on that pattern for logs that have been inserted into that indice in the last 15 minutes. And as you can see here, we had 23 logs that were inserted into this demo index pattern. We can change this. Let me just say a little bit about dates. Elasticsearch takes every date and converts it to UTC time and stores the date that way. Sometimes we're lucky, and some of our customers, they're across the world, say in Singapore, Australia, their logs are passed with a date and time stamp that includes the time zone. Often not, we're not that lucky. But just to be aware that Elasticsearch has every timestamp is set up as UTC time. And what the default for Kibana is whatever date or time your time zone your browser is in, it will automatically convert those dates to your time zone. So just be aware of that. But right now, it is, when I pulled this up, it was 11:34 Eastern Standard Time, and this was showing the last 15 minutes. We can change that. Here are common date increments that you can have. You can have all the alerts that occurred today, this week, last 15 minutes, 30 minutes, 1 hour, 48 days, 48 hours, 7 days, and whatnot. So I'm going to go with the last 7 days. So this basically shows us from August 5th at 11:52, which is it is right now, to August 12th, 11:52. And these are all the alerts that have occurred. Now you can click on any one of these time slices and see that the count was 3,906 alerts occurred during this particular time slice. And if you want to do specific dates, the way you would do that would be to click on Show Dates. And you'd set, this is your start, this is your ending point. So you'd click on your start, you'd say absolute. So say you wanted only alerts on the 6th. Well, you could go to the 6th, change the time to 00, and then click on the now portion. This is the ending date. You do absolute and click on the 6th again. As you can see, this is the ending date. And right now it's defaulting on our time, but you can change that. You can change it to 23:59, 59, and then tell it to update, and then that shows you all the logs that have been inserted within that day. For us in this demo demonstration Elasticsearch and Kibana instance, we had 312 hits that were inserted, logs that were inserted on August 6th. So that kind of gives you an idea how you go about with time, and how you set your dates if you want absolute dates. It's best to kind of work with, like, for instance, today, because if you create some queries and you save them, you can always take those queries and create a visualization, and I'll get into how you do that. And then it's always relative to whatever date you save the query in. So if you were to get into Kibana tomorrow and save this query of alerts today, it would show tomorrow's alerts that occurred in that day frame. So that's bear that in mind. Time can be relative or absolute. So I guess the next thing, let's pull up some interesting data. I'm going to switch over here from the index pattern to one that I know might be a little more interesting. And this data is a little bit older. We'll go ahead and refresh. I'm going to change it to this week. And there we go. So this is Suricata. Suricata, if you do not know, is a packet inspection engine that we typically, most of our customers, we not only have, we watch log data, but we also watch the wire. And Suricata is extremely powerful in watching the wire. It gives you a lot of great information in logs. And here's the HTTP logs for our demonstration. And August 15th or through 9th through the 15th now, this week, we had 94,266 logs that were inserted into Elasticsearch. So you can also, here are the list of available fields that you can look at that are in this index pattern. Like for instance, and if you click on any one of these, they show you, if we click on destination IP, it will show you the top 5 values in the last 500 records. So on destination, here are the top 5 values. Now, that gets to the point. Destination IP is a field, okay? So the best way to do any searches in Kibana is not to click up here and just type in any pattern, because then it's searching the entire indice for whatever pattern you need. If you're interested in, say, a destination IP, and let's go grab one of those, say I want to see all the logs that are related to this 142.250.64.195 address, then what you do is add in a filter. You tell it, I want destination IP, and I want to select is, and then I want to copy that search string. So now I save it, and out of that 95,000 hits, now we have only the packets that went to this particular IP. Now it's better because if you wanted to do search into some other fields, or you wanted to search for certain values in the URL, you could type that in here, and it's only having to search through 2,126 hits. So that kind of gives you a little power. And the best way to do searching in Kibana is create a filter first. Narrow down your search so that Elasticsearch isn't having to go through 50 or 150 gigs of data first to find, a small string. You want to narrow down your searches as much as possible that you can in order to do a finalized search, which may not be on a field number, field value, but actually a string within a field. So the way you get rid of a filter is you just click on the X until it automatically refreshes, and then, for instance, we can tell it to add these top 5 IPs, and it reduces it down to 94,000 hits. And if we'd like to, we can save this query. So I'm going to do top IP addresses. We'll save it. This saves the search. So if you were to come back tomorrow and perform the same search, pull it up and save it. After you've saved it, pull it up and run it. And I can show you how to do that. It will show you from August 10th through the 16th. Again, this week is relative. It is not absolute. So now that we've saved that query, we got 94,000 hits, you might want to do some visualization on it. And what we can do is set up a visualization now that we've saved the query, and we can create a visualization. And generally, most of the visualizations are best on a vertical bar graph. They've got other different ones, but we're gonna do a bar graph, and we're gonna choose our source, which we saved as top IP addresses. Okay, now it gives you a big old blob. Here's the counts. Okay, because it's all those IP addresses together. What we have to do is we have to add an x-axis, and on the x-axis we want an aggregation. Okay, and we'll do significant terms, and we'll select destination IP dot keyword. Now this is real important. It's got to be a dot keyword field. It can't be just the destination IP, but it's got to be a destination IP dot keyword. That keyword is crucial. You cannot select anything other than a keyword for your x-axis. And now here, size, the reason why I named that top IP addresses is we loaded the 5, but we can actually aggregate it on, say, 10. And that's the size that we want for this aggregation field. And so we update, and there are the top 10 IP addresses during this time frame. And now we've created a visualization. So let's say you wanted to check this every week, but you want to check it. You don't have to go through loading a visualization. What you can do is save this on your dashboard. And so first you want to save this visualization. And then let's call it top 10 IP destinations. We'll save. Takes a minute or so for it to save it. And now it's been saved. So now we can come up here to the main menu, and we can go to a dashboard, and we can create a dashboard. And we can add an existing object. And since I named it with a T, it's going to be at the end. So I clicked on 14. I'm going to back it. There we go. Top 10 IP destinations. And it was added. So now we can close out this panel. And this will stay on your dashboard. So we want to save that. Call it save dashboard, top 10. Make this a little more clear. Destination IP addresses over past week. And we say it. And here we do not store the time with the dashboard, because then you'll always get the same time frame. You want to leave this not checked, and that way the time will always be relative to the time you log into Kibana. You go to this dashboard, it's going to show you the top 10 IP addresses over the past week, whatever that week is when you've logged in. And that's essentially how you can set up a visualization, save a query, save the query as a visualization, save the visualization, and then go to your dashboard and create a dashboard with that visualization and save the dashboard. So that's pretty much it. I would recommend that you just play. To get back, you always want to go, if you want to get back to what the defaults are, you go to Discover. It's showing you this week, but we could, Discover menu is always here. Dashboard and Visualize are there. Here's the recently used items that have been used in the dashboard. And that pretty much completes this training video on Kibana. My suggestion would be to just play with the software. You can't harm anything. And here we've got still can't harm anything at all. Whatever you feel, if there's any type of fixed change that you need done because you felt like you've broken it, you haven't, and we can always help you out with that. But this gives you an idea. Remember, the main points to bear in mind in summarizing are time. Elasticsearch always stores timestamps in UTC time. Kibana converts those timestamps to browser time. Filters. You always want to narrow down your searches as much as you can based on a filter. Filters are based on fields and what the value is of a field, so that you narrow really large data sets down before you search for strings in the middle of strings. You don't want it to hit every field looking for a certain string. And then we've gone over how to save your queries, how to create a visualization, and how to add that visualization to the dashboard. Again, enjoy playing with the software, and if you ever need any help, just reach out. Our SOC is but a phone call or email away, and we can arrange a time to take care of any issues you may have.